how could these potential tariffs affect your clients? Does anybody have any thoughts? Yes, go ahead, Tristan.
It is super easy to assume we will be affected negatively. I know a lot of e-commerce stores, so I actually have a big swath that are about to be hit real hard. And I have given them all the same conversation. You have a margin that has been insane. It is now going to be slightly reduced, or you can increase your price. We have a free market, and you may make more sales at that higher price, or you might make less. But your cost of doing business is now increased. This is time for the Serenity's Prayer. You can only control yourself, and we're about to really see what's going to happen. But I also have a crap ton of clients in Canada who do business brokeraging. And they actually deal with a lot of companies that do deal with America, and they are very worried about their sellability. And that's a slightly different conversation where it's just like in the 70s, you had a 17% interest rate to get a mortgage, and home ownership was higher than it is now. The circumstances are going to change. But as an American, I'm pro-tariff over taxes. I don't think we should be milking our own country. And if you want to have our dollar, don't mind it being a little bit more. And on the flip side, I hope Canada feels like there's initial values and not a tit for tat, but if there's some exchange. But we sell soft entertainment stuff. Unfortunately, America's GDP isn't that impressive either. In the last 20 years, I won't acknowledge that. But to me, it's just like, look, we have a margin. First, verify, is it even affecting you? And if it is, go talk to your accountant, because that's really the only conversation you want to have. Or maybe buy American. I know that sounds silly, but at its core, this might be an opportunity to find a small American company that is producing that you might be able to get a great price on, so that there seems to be opportunities, but perspective. Thank you.
Yeah. Jamie.
Yeah, no, I agree with almost everything that Tristan said. It's an opportunity to be creative as business owners. You've got to look at multiple. For the recent, it's been so easy to default to going to foreign suppliers because the cost variance was so drastic. And I think, unfortunately, we've let quality go in some cases. We've let even our staffing and employees go in some cases. And this is an opportunity that we're kind of forced to reevaluate. And hopefully people aren't purely taking the top line. Like Tristan said, yes, immediately your overheads are going to change. Your cost of business is going to change. But I'm hoping people don't purely look at the books and crunch those numbers, that they take a look at the entire opportunity. I had 15 years ago, my entire corporate office was closed down in St. Louis, and we were all relocated to Orlando. And we were told, your job is now in Orlando. So either you move to Orlando or you find a new job. Your job no longer exists in this city. And our VP was living in St. Louis working, but she was from Miami, Florida. So everybody assumed, or our director, everybody assumed she was going to be promoted to VP and move down here. Well, she ended up taking a job outside the company. Mm-hmm. And her explanation was, I wasn't looking, but you forced my hand to evaluate my situation. And when I had to evaluate, I took a look at the big picture. And I've held on to that phrase for a long time. And I think that's a great way. This is an exact example. Don't just look at the tariffs and the money and the situation that's being forced. Step back and look at the big picture.
Mm-hmm. Like, how do you accommodate a new situation?
Exactly.
All right, Terrence, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just telling a couple of people, I love this situation of the tariffs, because now, as tax professionals, financial professionals, now your clients actually have to listen to you because right? Because now they got to really start budgeting and actually listening to your budget and your financial understanding of how to get around these tariffs. Before, they would, oh, yeah, that recommendation is great. I'm just going to go to China or go to India for this. But now they can't. Right. So now you really have that opportunity as a professional to say, OK, are we going to increase our products? And how do we do that? Or are we going to look at our budget of seeing how we can smaller things down, dummy things down, and go into those key items that actually make us the most profit and bring those from overseas? So now that tariff price is not actually hurting us. It's actually helping us, right? But before now, everybody, I have a client in the retail space, they have 23 SKUs. Why? Right? But it was because everything was cheap, bringing it over. Now, one thing a lot of people are not looking at, shipping time is going to be a lot less crazy when it comes to bringing things in from China and other countries. Because if things are made here in the United States or in Canada or in Mexico, where the tariffs are going to be a lot smaller, now we're actually speeding up delivery times, transportation times, things of that nature. That's actually going to help companies.
It's one of those benefits of shop local, right? It's there are benefits to having an international arm to your business, but really it's hard to beat, like, it's right there.
Right.
And taking that into account when you're looking at business.
Now overnight delivery or express delivery doesn't mean 7 to 8 days. Now it actually means 24 to 48 hours, So that's another thing, right? But as a professional, I love it because I'm like, okay, yeah, these guys are really gonna have to listen to me, and they're calling me like, how do I change my budget? What should we do in this situation? We have these SKUs coming from overseas. Okay, who else supplies it? We need to go and look. We need to go and set up net 30s, net 60s, net 90s with some of these people, because this could be a good relationship that you have with them.
To me, it, like what you're saying, makes a lot of sense, and it always comes back to the client relationship for me. And so when there's a shift like this happens, and whether it's good or whether it's bad, they're going to turn to you and rely on you for your expertise. And I always see that as an opportunity to strengthen the relationship, even if it's a hard conversation. And so it's really refreshing to hear that. Tristan, you can go ahead.
So 2 things actually came to mind. One, here's a legit opportunity. If you don't know, tariffs are paid at a certain time. This isn't a new thing. They've existed. There's also places that are called distributors. They just buy inventory in wholesale. The simple fact is right now, there's a weird opportunity where there are going to be people who are now going to get out of this business. And the second they decide to get out of this business, they're not trying to sell for maximum profit. They're trying to liquidate and move on to the next thing. There's probably a couple of companies where if they took a real effort in some SEO, maybe use Seamless to find weird companies, that there's probably ways of actually getting great inventory very cheap, because the tariffs in China, we're all talking about product. There's a delay there and we have a crap ton here. That's a big one. So I do think if anyone's doing any kind of bookkeeping and they actually are relying on that, there's a real effort where if they've held their cash and they weren't spending it all, they have a real opportunity to save. And all those people who weren't saving and are running real thin margins because they spent everything and they've overspent their ads, they might burn their boat by mistake, or they might cut themselves enough to cut out and leave with whatever. So I think there's actually weird acquisitions. I mean, I come from real estate motivated sellers, so my mind will always know like, oh shit, something's bad. There's good there. Secondarily, let's actually talk about Canada very specifically, because I think this is an interesting one. They primarily as a country actually only send gas and natural resources. These are actually a global market that they have always paid what the market price is, and then tariffs are a side effect. Well, no matter what, they're going to have to pay more. That sucks for them. They're not going to make as much. But however, the price that we pay as a country is not going to change, period. And as we produce more in our own country, it's going to reduce either way. So realize in the short term, most of the tariffs that affect us from Canada will not affect us, because as a country, no one personally buys petroleum. That's not our market, people. None of us deal in any product for primarily what Canada does, unless it's, weird car manufacturing, I guess would be a big exception. But what it is going to do is Canada's still going to sell it cheap because they have to sell their resources somewhere. But you can kind of let them know, listen, gas prices are coming down. And much like Terrence was saying, everything goes on the last mile. Diesel is the largest factor, second to labor, when it costs to the cost of your getting goods. There's no way the cost of gas is not going to go down this year and probably over the next year. So regardless of tariffs, America's not going to get screwed, and the cost of gas and everything's going to get cheaper.